Consistency is one of the most important skills anyone can develop to improve their life. It's what turns small efforts into real progress and helps you build habits that last. But staying consistent is not always easy. Some days motivation is low, distractions get in the way, or you feel like giving up. That's normal. The key is learning how to keep going even when it's tough, and how to create a system that supports your growth every single day. This book is about breaking down consistency into simple, clear steps that anyone can follow. It's not about quick fixes or overwhelming plans. Instead, it focuses on practical ways to set clear goals, build routines you can keep, track your progress, and handle the challenges that come up. You will learn how to take action even when you don't feel ready, how to use small wins to fuel your discipline, and why showing up daily matters more than you think. You will also discover why the people around you can make a big difference, how removing distractions protects your momentum, and why celebrating your effort is just as important as reaching your goals. This guide will help you take control of your habits and create a steady path forward, one day at a time. If you want to grow, improve, and build a life where progress is real and lasting, understanding how to stay consistent is essential. The journey might challenge you, but it will also teach you strength, patience, and focus. Keep reading, and you'll find the tools and encouragement you need to turn your intentions into results and your dreams into reality. Chapter 1. Build a clear goal you can measure daily. A goal that isn't clear will never feel real. You'll wake up each day unsure of what you're supposed to do. You'll keep moving, but without a direction that grounds your steps. Your energy will scatter. Eventually, motivation fades, confidence cracks, progress halts. That's why consistency begins, not with effort, but with clarity. And clarity begins with a goal you can see, measure, and act on every single day. Most people aim too big, too vague, or too far into the future. They say things like, "I want to get in shape," or "I want to be successful," or "I want to write a book." These are dreams, not goals. They sound good. They look impressive when you write them in a journal or say them out loud, but they don't give your day structure. They don't tell you what to do at 7 a.m. or 3 p.m. or when your energy dips after dinner. That's the problem. The truth is, your future is shaped by the tiny, repeatable actions you take day after day, so your goal must live in that same space, not in the distance, but in the present. It must be built into your ordinary day, not floating in some imagined future. A clear, measurable daily goal strips away the noise. It becomes your anchor. No matter what life throws at you, it keeps your focus sharp and your mind calm. You know exactly what you're working toward and exactly how you'll know if you did it. Clarity is not about complexity, it's about precision, and it begins with asking yourself the right questions. What do I really want? Not what others expect, not what sounds impressive. What do I genuinely want to change or build or achieve in my life? Once that's honest and solid in your mind, the next step is shrinking it, not to weaken it, but to make it powerful. A goal is only powerful if it moves your hands and your feet today, not next week, not next month. Now, if your goal is to get healthy, what does that look like daily? Maybe it means walking for 30 minutes. Maybe it's cooking one clean meal. Maybe it's tracking your sleep. Choose one, just one. The moment it's clear and small enough to complete in a day, it becomes real. It becomes yours. You need a finish line you can cross before the sun goes down. If your goal doesn't give you that, it isn't clear enough. It doesn't matter if it sounds ambitious. It doesn't matter if it looks impressive to others. If it doesn't give you a daily win, it won't last. A measurable goal means you can look back at the end of the day and say with certainty, "I did it," or "I didn't." There's no guessing, no vague feelings, no room to justify skipping. It keeps you honest. And honesty builds discipline. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build by stacking up these small moments of clarity and action. When your brain knows exactly what to expect, it stops wasting energy resisting. It stops negotiating. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You wake up knowing. Your brain loves closure. When you give it a clear goal with a finish line, it relaxes into action. That's how you build momentum. That's how you become consistent, not through sheer force, but through structured simplicity. Now think about the opposite. When your goal is unclear, your effort is scattered. You try this for a few days, switch to something else, get discouraged, then start again. It becomes a cycle, not of progress, but of starting over. Clarity breaks that cycle. You stop chasing motivation. You start building rhythm. Rhythm matters more than intensity. One small, clear action done every day beats the big effort you only do when you feel inspired. You don't need bursts. You need beats. You need a tempo your life can dance to. That tempo is built by knowing exactly what you're doing and why. A good goal is so clear it can be written in one sentence. It must include what you're doing, when you're doing it, and how you'll know it's done. For example, I will read 10 pages of a non-fiction book every morning before breakfast. That's clear, that's measurable, that's daily. You'll notice the power in the simplicity. You're not guessing. You don't need to feel inspired. You don't need the perfect conditions. You just follow the instruction you gave yourself. That's how you lead yourself. That's how you earn trust in yourself again, because trust is what's really at stake. When you don't follow through on your goals, part of you stops believing your own words. That quiet voice in the back of your head starts whispering, "We won't really do it." And the more times that happens, the more you live from a place of doubt, not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because the goals you set weren't clear or fair. You never gave yourself a real chance to win. That ends now. You start by deciding that from this point forward, every goal you set will be something you can track daily, measure clearly, and finish fully. That is your new standard. If it doesn't meet that, it doesn't enter your life. This doesn't mean you give up big dreams. It means you learn to break them into pieces small enough to conquer one day at a time. Want to write a book? Great. Your daily goal becomes writing 500 words. Want to get in shape? Your daily goal becomes walking 8,000 steps. Want to build a business? Your daily goal becomes reaching out to 3 potential clients. This is not about thinking small. It's about thinking smart. The people who build powerful lives do it one clear step at a time. They don't chase motivation. They design systems. Systems made of simple daily goals. And they protect those goals, because once you've built a clear goal, the next challenge is staying loyal to it. Distractions will show up, emotions will shift, but the goal stays the same. It becomes your constant in a world of change. This is why your goal must be meaningful. Don't just make it measurable, make it matter. It has to tie into something deeper than looking good or making money. It must connect to your values, your principles, your vision for who you want to become. When your goal reflects your values, it gains weight. You no longer see it as a task. You see it as a reflection of your identity. The person you want to be shows up in what you choose to do every day. And when your daily action matches your deeper values, you feel strong. You feel aligned. Alignment is power, and you can feel it in your body when it happens. You wake up lighter. You move with more intention. You stop overthinking, because now your days have a direction and your actions have a soul. This clarity doesn't just affect your productivity, it changes your entire life. You become more grounded in how you speak, more calm in how you respond, more present in how you show up for others. That's the hidden gift of a clear daily goal. It organizes your mind, strengthens your character, and teaches you how to lead yourself in every area of life. You stop reacting to life and start building it. One step, one day, one goal at a time. There's nothing glamorous about this. No applause, no overnight success. But day after day you lay bricks, and those bricks become habits. Those habits become identity, and your identity becomes your destiny. So you begin today, not by writing down a fantasy, but by defining one simple, clear, measurable action you will take. Before the day ends, you will know whether or not you did it. And that one decision becomes the first domino in a chain reaction that rewires how you live. You'll notice something powerful after a few days, not just progress, but peace. Because when your goal is clear, your mind quiets down. You stop wrestling with uncertainty. You stop wondering if you're doing enough. You start trusting the process, not hoping, not guessing, trusting. And when you trust the process, you keep showing up. That's consistency, and that's how change lasts. You are no longer just setting goals. You are building a life of discipline, a life where action matters more than emotion, a life where structure wins over chaos, A life where each day adds to something greater than itself. This is not theory, it's reality. You can feel it, you can track it, you can live it starting now. Every day is a page. Your goal is the pen. Write something real, write something clear, write something you're proud of, and do it again tomorrow. Chapter 2. Create a simple routine you can repeat forever. The strength of your life depends not on what you do occasionally, but on what you do repeatedly, without needing to think about it. Most people wait for the perfect day to begin something meaningful. They want a burst of motivation, a clear schedule, the right mood, and ideal conditions. But success doesn't come from what happens on your best days. It comes from what you do on your most ordinary ones. That's why you must build a routine so simple, so practical, and so grounded in who you are that it fits inside your real life, not some fantasy version of it. A good routine doesn't drain you, it anchors you, it frees up your energy, because it removes the need to decide again and again what to do next. Every decision you make throughout the day costs mental energy. The more you can automate the essential actions that shape your character and your outcomes, the more focus you save for what truly matters. But a routine only works if it's sustainable. That means it must be small enough to repeat on your worst days, not just your good ones. It must fit who you are now, not who you hope to be one day. That's where most people go wrong. They build routines that look impressive but feel heavy. Routines that require perfect sleep, flawless motivation, and complete control of time. These routines collapse the moment life throws something unexpected, and then the person blames themselves for not having enough willpower, when the real problem was their system wasn't built to last. A strong routine feels natural. It blends into the rhythm of your life. You don't have to force it, just follow it. Think of it like a path in a forest. If you walk the same trail every day, eventually it becomes easier. The trees clear, the dirt packs down. You move without resistance. But if you keep switching paths, the ground never settles. That's what happens to people who keep changing their routine every few days. They never give it time to become part of them. The best routines start simple. So simple, in fact, that they might seem unimpressive, but that's their strength. You don't build a strong life by overwhelming yourself with complexity. You build it by doing the basic things with precision, over and over, until they become second nature. 1 glass of water after waking up, 10 minutes of movement in the morning, 5 minutes of reflection before bed. These aren't major changes, but done daily, they shape the kind of person you become. A repeatable routine is built on timing and order. It's not just what you do, but when and in what sequence. Your brain finds comfort in pattern. When you give your day structure, your mind feels less scattered. Your emotions feel less chaotic. You no longer drift through the hours reacting to everything. You become deliberate, and that quiet sense of control builds self-respect. You start with the first hour of your day. This hour sets the tone for everything that follows. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it must be intentional. That means cutting out things that clutter your mind. No checking social media right after waking. No jumping straight into anxiety or distraction. Instead, you ground yourself. You hydrate, move, sit in silence, or review your focus for the day. These tiny actions build momentum, and momentum carries you forward, without needing force. Throughout the day, your routine should create checkpoints, small moments that remind you of your values. Maybe it's a short walk after lunch, a pause to breathe deeply between meetings, a short check-in with your progress in the afternoon. These rituals may seem insignificant, but they prevent drift. They pull you back to intention. They help you reset before you spiral into stress or distraction. The end of the day matters too. Your nighttime routine should not be filled with noise and stimulation. It should be a descent into calm. This is when you give your body and your brain permission to slow down. You reflect briefly, maybe write down what went well, or simply sit in quiet. These are small acts of closure. They prepare you to rest without carrying the weight of an unfinished day. A simple routine also protects your energy. It helps you avoid the trap of decision fatigue, which wears people down and leads them to make poor choices. When you follow a predictable sequence of behaviors, you conserve willpower. You don't waste time negotiating with yourself. You just move from step to step. That kind of rhythm turns effort into ease. But for your routine to last, it must be personal. You can't just copy what others do. Their life is not your life. Their schedule is not your schedule. Their values are not your values. Your routine must reflect what truly matters to you. If it doesn't, you won't stick with it. You'll start resenting it, and that resentment will become resistance. So pay attention to how your body and mind respond. If a routine leaves you drained or disconnected, simplify it. If it feels chaotic, add structure. If it feels rigid, add breathing room. The right routine is not just productive, it's sustainable. It's flexible without being fragile. It can bend without breaking. That's what makes it strong. You don't need to fill every hour with tasks. The goal isn't to be busy. The goal is to be aligned. A powerful routine brings order to your day, but more importantly, it brings peace to your mind. You don't have to chase success. You build the kind of structure that allows success to find you, and even when you don't feel your best, your routine carries you. That's its hidden strength. On days when your motivation is gone, you still show up, not because you feel like it, but because it's what you do. That kind of reliability builds inner strength. It turns discipline into identity. Eventually, people may look at your life and wonder how you manage to stay consistent, but what they don't see is that you aren't relying on inspiration. You're relying on structure. You're not fighting chaos every day. You're following a simple rhythm that gives you freedom through repetition, and freedom is the ultimate goal. Not freedom from effort, but freedom from confusion, freedom from wasted energy, freedom from the mental fog of unclear priorities. A routine gives you that. It sharpens your focus. It keeps your actions aligned with your goals, not just occasionally, but daily. There's no perfect routine. There's only the one you build and refine over time. What matters is not how impressive it looks, but how well it serves you. If it helps you move steadily toward the person you want to become, then it's doing its job. So build a routine you can carry for the rest of your life. Make it light enough to repeat, strong enough to support you, clear enough to follow, personal enough to matter. This is how consistency becomes part of your nature, not through pressure, but through practice. One simple routine, lived well, can reshape everything. Chapter 3. Track your progress every day without skipping once. Progress isn't something you guess, it's something you see, and the only way to truly see it is to track it. Each day that passes without a record of what you did, what you felt, and what you moved toward is a day that fades into the blur of forgettable effort. Without tracking, time slips away silently. You might be working hard, but without knowing how far you've come, it's easy to feel like you're standing still. That's why you need to keep track of your steps every single day without exception. This is not about obsessing over numbers or building spreadsheets to impress yourself. It's about building a relationship with your progress, no matter how small. When you track your daily actions, you stop relying on memory or emotion to tell you if you're doing enough. Instead, you build undeniable proof. You remove doubt. You quiet that voice that questions if anything is working. Because now you're not just hoping you're improving, you can see it. There's something powerful about seeing a streak of effort that hasn't been broken. It tells your brain that you're becoming someone different, that you're not just trying, you're becoming. A daily log is a mirror. It shows you not only what you've done, but also who you're becoming through repetition. And it doesn't lie. It gives you a quiet but unshakable form of accountability. You can't hide from it. You can't fake it. And that's exactly why it works. Many people start out strong but fall off because they can't tell whether their actions are leading anywhere. The result is frustration. But the problem isn't the lack of progress, it's the lack of visibility. When you track daily, you keep your eyes on the path, not just the destination. You start to realize that growth is happening, even if it's not dramatic. You see the pattern forming, and once you see that, you build belief. Tracking also protects you from illusion. It's easy to feel productive while staying busy, but busyness isn't progress. Only tracking reveals whether your effort is creating real movement. It forces clarity. Are you doing what matters or just what feels urgent? Are you spending time on your goal or getting pulled into distraction disguised as action? Your daily log answers that with evidence, not opinion. The most effective form of tracking is simple and fast. If it takes too much effort, you won't sustain it. You're not building a report for anyone else. You're creating a system that helps you stay connected to your journey. All you need is a few lines. What did I do today that brought me closer to my goal? What didn't work? What needs adjusting tomorrow? That's it. Just those honest questions, answered consistently, build an incredible level of awareness, and you don't need to wait for the end of the day. Check in with yourself in real time. Did I follow my routine this morning? Did I act on what I promised myself? Midday check-ins can bring you back to focus before the day drifts off track. Evening reflections help you close the loop so you sleep with a clear mind, not a pile of unfinished thoughts. These moments become a daily pause that centers you. When you track without skipping, you build self-respect. Even on the days when nothing goes right, the act of writing it down proves you showed up. You didn't vanish. You didn't lie to yourself. You acknowledged the struggle and remained present in your process. That's what separates people who make it from those who don't. Not perfect results, not flawless plans, just presence and honesty, repeated. Over time, your tracker becomes a personal map. You start seeing what times of day bring your best focus. You notice what actions lift your energy. You see where you waste time, what triggers make you slip, and what habits create results. This insight helps you fine-tune your approach, instead of repeating the same patterns unconsciously. Without this data, you're flying blind. With it, you start flying with control. There's also a deeper benefit. Tracking gives shape to your effort, but more importantly, it gives shape to your identity. You're not just someone trying to stay consistent. You're someone who monitors, adjusts, and learns. That mindset is the foundation of long-term growth. It means you're not just hoping life will change. You're taking responsibility for how it unfolds. Some people think daily tracking is overkill. They say they don't need it. But those same people often feel stuck, unsure, overwhelmed. They're trying to build something blindfolded. You can't build anything strong if you don't know where you stand. You can't improve what you don't measure. Tracking every day might seem small, but it's the difference between guessing and growing, between wandering and walking forward with your eyes open. And when you track long enough, you'll have something nobody can take from you, a personal record of your evolution. Not some highlight reel filled with only successes, but a full, honest reflection of your grit, your lessons, your path. You'll be able to look back and see how far you've come, not just with pride, but with clarity. It changes how you speak to yourself. You stop calling yourself inconsistent. You stop doubting your discipline, because now you have daily proof that you've been showing up. Even on the worst days, write it down, especially on the worst days. That's when it matters most. The entries don't need to be impressive. They need to be honest. The point isn't to look good on paper. It's to stay grounded in the truth of your journey. Tracking is not about perfection. It's about pattern. You're not aiming to never miss. You're aiming to notice when you do, and course correct quickly. The longer you go without tracking, the harder it becomes to return. One missed day turns into three into a week. Before you know it, the thread is lost. But when you write daily, even just a few lines, you keep that thread alive. That thread is your momentum. The world won't track your progress for you. No one's going to keep a scoreboard for your daily wins. You have to do it. Not for praise, not for attention, but for alignment. It's how you stay in touch with your values. It's how you protect your time, your energy, your direction. One page at a time, one day at a time, you keep yourself honest. This is what mastery looks like. Not grand achievements, but quiet discipline. Not public applause, but private clarity. Show up, do the work, write it down, and repeat. The proof will speak louder than any promise ever could. Chapter 4. Remove distractions that break your daily momentum. Distractions don't come with a warning. They arrive quietly, dressed as something harmless, an unread message, a background noise, a fleeting urge to check a screen, and before you know it, your focus is gone. The most damaging distractions are not the loudest ones, but the ones you don't notice stealing your time. If you want to stay consistent, your first battle is not about effort, it's about guarding your attention. What breaks your daily momentum is often subtle, but the cost is massive. Every time you let your focus scatter, you're not just losing a few minutes, you're weakening your ability to return to what matters. Momentum is fragile. It takes discipline to build and only seconds to break. That's why you need to be deliberate about what you allow into your space. You can't leave it to chance. You must decide in advance what deserves your time and what doesn't. Most people treat their attention like it's infinite. It isn't. You wake up with a limited supply, and once it's gone, it's gone. You can't afford to waste it on things that pull you away from your goals. To stay consistent, you have to treat distractions like thieves, because that's what they are, thieves of your energy, your clarity, and your progress. The more you entertain them, the further you drift from the life you're trying to build. You don't have to eliminate everything overnight, but you do need to identify what breaks your rhythm and put boundaries around it. That means becoming aware of your patterns, not just your goals. It means noticing when your flow is interrupted and asking yourself why. Often it's not the big crises that throw people off track. It's the tiny interruptions that stack up. A glance at your phone becomes a scroll through endless noise. A quick reply to a message becomes a half hour of mental detour. A tab you open to search for something useful turns into a dozen more, none of which are connected to your original task. It's not the size of the distraction that matters, it's the speed with which it severs your connection to purpose. If you don't build a system to protect your focus, the world will take it from you. Technology, noise, clutter, notifications, even people with their own agendas, they all compete for your attention. And if you're not careful, your entire day becomes a reaction. You wake up with a plan and end the day wondering where the time went. That's what distraction does. It doesn't just delay you, it reshapes you into someone who chases stimulation instead of staying steady. One way to reduce distraction is to simplify your environment. Remove what doesn't support your mission. That could be a digital tool you never use but always see. It could be a television that runs in the background. It could be unnecessary items on your desk that give your mind a reason to wander. Your environment either helps you stay focused or invites you to escape the work. Clean it up, keep it lean, make it easy to stay on track and hard to drift. But removing distraction is not only about your space, it's about your habits. How you start your day sets the tone. If you begin by checking your phone or letting outside noise in, you weaken your inner stillness before it has a chance to form. The beginning of your day should belong to your priorities, not to outside input. Protect that space. Use it to center yourself, not scatter yourself. Another source of daily disruption is mental noise. When your thoughts are cluttered, even a quiet room can feel overwhelming. This is why clarity is a habit, not a mood. Take time each day to write out what matters. Define the essential. If you don't, everything feels equally important, and that confusion creates a craving for distraction. The brain loves clarity. It performs better when it knows exactly what to do. Give it a target. People around you can also unintentionally derail your momentum. This isn't about shutting out the world, but about being selective. If someone constantly interrupts you, drains your energy, or pulls you into drama, they're a distraction. It doesn't matter how kind or close they are. If their presence breaks your ability to stay present in your work, you have to draw a line. Protecting your consistency sometimes means stepping back from conversations, habits, or routines that pull you in the wrong direction. Distraction also thrives when your emotions are unguarded. If you're anxious, bored, or restless, it's easy to reach for something that gives you a quick escape, but that escape often costs you your progress. The solution is not to suppress those feelings, but to become aware of them. Pause, breathe, name what you feel, then act with intention. Don't let temporary emotion dictate permanent patterns. There is no perfect day. You will always face interruptions. But the goal is not to remove every single distraction forever. It's to recognize them fast and return to focus quickly. That's the difference between people who succeed long-term and those who don't. They don't have fewer distractions. They just recover faster. They don't spiral. They recenter. Create anchors in your day, moments when you pause and reset. These can be small checkpoints, like before lunch or after a break. Use these moments to ask yourself, am I still doing what matters? Has anything pulled me off course? That awareness brings your momentum back. It makes each day feel intentional instead of accidental. Also, remember that discipline is not about suffering, it's about direction. You don't avoid distraction to punish yourself. You do it because what you're building matters, and that requires full engagement. When you say no to distraction, you're saying yes to progress. You're saying yes to the version of you that follows through. Some people wait for the perfect environment before they focus. That day never comes. There will always be noise, temptation, and disruption. The real practice is learning to be focused in a noisy world, to find stillness, even when the world wants your attention. You don't wait for peace, you create it, and you protect it like something sacred. You're not here to waste days, you're here to shape them. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be present. That means being ruthless with what doesn't serve you. You can't afford to be casual with your attention. Every day you hold on to your momentum is a day you grow stronger, clearer, and closer to your goal. Distractions may be normal, but they don't have to be your default. You have the power to choose what you allow into your world, and every time you choose to stay focused, you build a deeper trust in yourself. That trust is the foundation of consistency. It's not about how strong you start, it's about how cleanly you stay aligned with what matters most. That's how you win, not all at once, but moment by moment, by keeping your attention where your future lives. Chapter 5. Take action even when you do not feel ready. The feeling of being ready is a lie we tell ourselves when we're scared to begin. We wait for the perfect time, the right mood, the absence of fear, but that day doesn't come. The longer you sit and wait for readiness, the deeper you sink into hesitation. Most people don't act because they believe that confidence should come before movement, but the truth is the opposite. Confidence is a result, not a requirement. It's something you earn through motion, not something you wait for. If you want to build a life that matters, you must learn to move before you feel prepared. There's a deep discomfort that comes with uncertainty. The unknown is intimidating, and the mind prefers to stay where it feels safe. But safety is not where growth happens. Comfort is not where progress lives. The edge of your ability, the line where fear meets potential, that is where your future is shaped. And most of the time, that edge feels uncomfortable. That's how you know you're in the right place. If you feel completely ready, you're probably not challenging yourself. You're repeating, you're looping in the familiar. And the familiar will never push you to evolve. Taking action when you don't feel ready is a discipline of the mind. It's the choice to lead yourself rather than be led by emotion. It doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you don't serve them. There will always be a voice inside telling you to wait, to hesitate, to pause just a little longer. That voice is not wise, it's afraid, and your job is not to obey it, but to move forward despite it. Progress doesn't come in a wave of motivation. It comes in small steps taken consistently, even when they feel awkward, even when they feel forced. Some days you'll wake up full of energy, most days you won't. But those low-energy days are where the real battle happens. When you act without excitement, you build something stronger than motivation. You build resilience, and resilience is what carries you through when everything else feels flat. People who succeed are not fearless. They're not magically motivated. They're simply disciplined enough to act without permission from their emotions. They've trained themselves to begin, regardless of how uncertain they feel. Every time you do something despite the resistance, you weaken its power. You show yourself that fear doesn't have to win. You create a new default. Action over delay, effort over hesitation, forward motion over doubt. You don't need clarity before you begin. You gain clarity through the doing. You don't need to know every answer. You just need to take the next step. Overthinking is one of the most deceptive forms of procrastination. It feels productive, but all it really does is delay movement. Planning has its place, but eventually planning becomes avoidance. The most powerful change happens when you stop waiting to feel certain and decide to move anyway. Action reveals what thinking can't. It shows you what works. It teaches you what needs improvement. It pulls you out of theory and drops you into reality. And in reality, nothing is perfect. Nothing is clean, but everything is alive. And in that aliveness you grow. It's messy, it's uncertain, but it's real. And that's where strength is built. The first step is always the hardest because it forces you to break inertia. But once you take it, the second step is easier, and the third begins to feel natural. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to move. One action creates momentum. That momentum creates rhythm, and that rhythm pulls you forward into consistency. Most people look for signs. They want some kind of signal that it's the right time. But waiting for signs is a form of self-sabotage. It's a way to delay responsibility. You don't need a sign, you need a decision. Waiting is comfortable because it delays accountability, but nothing worthwhile is built on comfort. What matters is built on choice, discipline, courage, all of which begin with the willingness to act, even when it feels unnatural. It's okay to feel unsure, it's okay to feel awkward, but it's not okay to let that be the reason you do nothing. Growth feels uncomfortable because it challenges the mind to stretch beyond what's familiar. When you take action without feeling ready, you force your brain to adapt. That adaptation builds strength. It teaches you to trust your own ability to figure things out as you go, and that trust becomes the foundation for long-term growth. If you wait until you're confident, you'll never build confidence. If you wait until you feel perfect, you'll never start. Action comes first. Clarity, confidence, momentum, those come after. The most important work is never done in comfort. It's done in discomfort that's chosen with purpose. Discomfort is not a problem, it's proof that you're in motion. Each day you'll face moments where resistance shows up. It will come in the form of doubt, fatigue, distraction, or fear. In those moments, you have a choice: delay or move. Choose movement, even if it's small, even if it's clumsy. Progress doesn't care how perfect your steps are. It only cares that you take them. The world rewards those who act, not those who plan to act, not those who think about acting, but those who move. You don't have to be the best. You don't need the most talent. You only need the courage to begin when it's easier not to. And each time you do, you become someone who can be trusted with hard things. You become the kind of person who doesn't break when things get heavy. You become reliable to yourself and to your mission. This isn't about motivation, it's about identity. If you want to be consistent, you have to become someone who acts, no matter how you feel. You train that identity one decision at a time. You don't wait, you move, even if it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because that's where your strength is born. You are not going to feel ready, and that's okay. Act anyway. Speak when your voice shakes. Move when your legs feel heavy. Begin when the doubt is loud. Every time you do, you prove to yourself that you are not controlled by hesitation. You build a foundation that doesn't crumble under pressure. You become solid, not because you're fearless, but because you choose to act anyway. That's how consistency is built, not through perfect plans, but through repeated decisions to act in the face of doubt. Not someday, not later, now. The sooner you move, the faster you grow. The more often you push through, the stronger you become. Don't wait. You already have what you need. You just have to use it. Chapter 6. Use small wins to build long-term discipline fast. Discipline isn't born from massive changes or sudden transformations. It grows quietly from the small, overlooked victories you choose to earn each day. Many people think that in order to develop strong habits or stay consistent, they have to wait for something big to happen, a major breakthrough, a life-changing realization, or a burst of motivation that will carry them through every challenge. Real discipline is shaped in the small moments you almost ignore. It's found in the decision to follow through on the tiniest promises you make to yourself. It's easy to underestimate the value of small wins. One glass of water instead of soda, one page read instead of scrolling your phone, one walk taken instead of staying seated. These moments seem so minor that people dismiss them, but they hold more weight than they appear to. When you complete a small task you committed to, you tell your mind, "I follow through." And the more you prove that, the more your brain starts to trust your word. This trust builds identity, and identity is what holds discipline in place. The mistake most people make is aiming too high too fast. They set unrealistic expectations, then get discouraged when they can't meet them. They try to go from zero to perfect overnight, but perfection is a trap. It gives you a reason to quit the moment things get messy. Small wins don't demand perfection. They just ask for presence. They invite you to show up, to participate in your own growth, and to do it in a way that's manageable. When something is manageable, it becomes sustainable, and that's how lasting discipline is formed. One of the most powerful strategies for building discipline is shrinking the scale of the task until it feels impossible to avoid. If writing a full chapter feels too hard, write one paragraph. If going to the gym feels overwhelming, put your shoes on and walk outside. That tiny action might seem like nothing, but it lowers resistance. And once the resistance is lowered, movement becomes natural. The hard part isn't doing the work, it's getting yourself to begin. Small wins eliminate that barrier by keeping the bar low enough that you don't argue with yourself. Momentum is created through repetition, not intensity. You don't need to overhaul your life in 1 week. You need to find a set of small, repeatable victories that you can build on. These wins create emotional feedback. Each time you complete one, you feel a sense of progress. That feeling reinforces the habit. It tells your mind, this matters, keep going. And when your mind starts to associate daily action with positive emotion, discipline becomes easier to maintain. What you're really doing with each small win is casting a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you wake up and follow through, even in a minor way, you cast a vote for being consistent. Every time you push through hesitation to complete a task, you cast a vote for being someone who finishes. No single vote defines you, but over time the votes add up. And when the evidence of your identity becomes too strong to ignore, it begins to direct your behavior without as much effort. There is also a deep psychological benefit in recognizing and celebrating these small wins. When you acknowledge your progress, even if it's just one step, you remind yourself that you're capable. That reminder builds confidence, not the kind that's loud or boastful, but the quiet, unshakable kind that lives deep inside you. That confidence becomes your anchor when discipline gets tested. You'll remember that you've succeeded before, and that memory will help you push forward again. The secret to fast progress isn't working harder, it's working consistently, and consistency is easier to maintain when you stack your days with wins that are easy to achieve but meaningful enough to build momentum. The win doesn't need to be impressive, it just needs to happen. You don't become disciplined by doing extraordinary things. You become disciplined by doing ordinary things without skipping them. You can also use small wins to recover from failure. If you fall off track, you don't need to wait for a perfect day to restart. You don't need to make up for lost time. You just need to grab the smallest possible win and let that pull you back into motion. This removes the guilt and shame that often come with inconsistency. You stop punishing yourself for slipping, and instead, you start focusing on regaining your rhythm. A small win can reset your direction in minutes. It's important to design your environment in a way that makes small wins easy to access. Keep your tools close, keep your tasks visible, eliminate friction between you and your next action. The less you have to think, the more likely you are to follow through. If you want to stretch every morning, put the mat where you can see it. If you want to read every night, keep the book by your bed. These adjustments seem small, but they change your behavior because they remove the need for willpower. You don't need more discipline, you need fewer reasons to avoid taking action. When you make your small wins automatic, they become part of your system, and systems create freedom. You no longer waste energy deciding what to do, you just follow the path you've built. That path over time turns into discipline, and that discipline, when applied over months and years, becomes the foundation for everything meaningful in your life. There is no achievement without process. And every process, no matter how complex, is made up of small, repeatable steps. The more you master those steps, the more control you gain over your habits. Discipline doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to those who are willing to do the small things, every day, without needing attention or praise. It's not exciting, it's not glamorous, but it works. The people who win long-term are the ones who understand that slow progress is still progress. They know that discipline isn't about grinding through misery, it's about finding a pace that you can repeat for the rest of your life. That pace is built through manageable actions that you don't skip. If you want to become more disciplined, stop chasing massive change. Start building small victories. Track them, celebrate them, learn from them, and stack them one after another until you've created a structure that supports the person you want to become. You don't need to wait for some grand moment of transformation. You just need to collect enough small wins until your mind believes you're someone who never quits. That belief will take you further than any burst of motivation ever could. Chapter 7. Show up daily no matter how you feel. The difference between those who build something meaningful and those who only wish they had is not found in talent or motivation. It's found in the decision to keep showing up. Not once, Not when it's easy, but every single day, even when it feels inconvenient, uncomfortable, or emotionally heavy. Consistency doesn't ask you to feel inspired, it only asks you to be present. Progress isn't born in the rare moments of brilliance. It grows through the discipline of returning again and again to the task in front of you, regardless of how the day feels. There will be mornings when your body feels tired and your mind is clouded, moments when your plans feel pointless or your effort seems invisible, days when your emotions don't cooperate and every reason in your mind tells you to delay, to skip, to rest. On those days, you are standing at a fork in the road. One path leads to habits that dissolve under pressure, the other to resilience that doesn't rely on emotion. When you choose to act despite the discomfort, you teach yourself that your standards aren't ruled by how you feel. You learn to trust action more than mood. That choice changes everything. What most people never realize is that feelings are temporary, but the decisions you make during those low points carry lasting weight. If you can only take action when your emotions are aligned with your goals, your progress will always be unstable. But if you learn to move forward without needing approval from your current state of mind, then you unlock something few ever master, the ability to keep building even in silence, even in doubt, even when the internal weather turns against you. That is what daily consistency really means. You don't have to be at your best to make progress. You just need to be willing to contribute something. It could be a small step, a brief session, a partial effort. It may not look impressive, but the value of that action isn't in the result, it's in the message it sends. Every time you show up despite your resistance, you reinforce an identity that doesn't waver in adversity, and that identity becomes your armor when life gets difficult. It becomes the source of momentum when others are waiting to feel better before they act. You'll never fully eliminate days where you feel flat, unmotivated, or out of rhythm, but those days can be repurposed into training grounds for consistency. They offer you the chance to prove that you're not owned by your emotions. Most people skip on hard days and call it self-care. But sometimes, real self-care is showing yourself that you're capable of doing hard things, that you can keep promises even when you'd rather take a break, that your discipline isn't conditional. Even the smallest effort carries meaning when it's done with intention. If you can't give 100%, then give 40%. If 40% feels impossible, give 10%. The number doesn't matter as much as the habit. Show your mind that you're not abandoning your path. Some days you'll move forward quickly, other days progress will be slow. But as long as you keep showing up, your direction stays intact. And when your direction is right, even slow steps will get you somewhere worthwhile. This kind of discipline isn't about forcing yourself or pretending to be strong. It's about accepting that you're human and still making the next move anyway. It's about realizing that your value doesn't disappear when you feel low and that your actions can still reflect purpose even when your energy is quiet. You don't need to perform at peak level every day. You only need to protect the streak, preserve the rhythm, show up in some way, in any way, to stay connected to your commitment. On the surface, this practice looks simple, but underneath, it's an act of deep self-respect. When you honor your word regardless of your emotional state, you're not just building habits, you're building integrity. You're telling yourself that you matter enough to follow through, and over time, that inner respect becomes the foundation for confidence that no one else can give or take away. The trap many fall into is believing that showing up must look a certain way, that if you're not performing like you did yesterday, or if you can't produce big results, then it's not worth it. That kind of thinking is what erodes consistency. The truth is, every day doesn't have to look the same. What matters is that the thread isn't broken. You can adapt the intensity, you can adjust the form, but don't abandon the habit. That habit is the structure holding your discipline together. You're not going to feel inspired every time you sit down to do the work. You won't always be excited to train, write, study, or show up for your responsibilities, and that's okay. You're not chasing feelings, you're building something bigger. The feeling may come after you start, it may not come at all, but your job is the same, to show up, to move forward, to do the work that your future self will thank you for. There's nothing dramatic about this. It's not flashy or thrilling, but it works. Day by day, effort by effort, your actions compound. And what begins as simple repetition becomes something deeper, a lifestyle rooted in stability, self-trust, and direction. Others might not notice the quiet work you're doing. They may never see the hours when you wanted to give up but didn't. But you will know, and that knowing will shape how you see yourself. You can choose to live based on feelings, or you can choose to live based on commitments. The first path is unreliable. It depends on mood swings and fleeting motivation. The second path requires discipline, but it offers freedom, the freedom to move regardless of how you feel. That's the freedom that leads to results most never reach. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Your emotions won't disappear, but they'll lose their power to delay you. You'll start to act first and think later. You'll build habits so strong that even on your worst days, your system holds you together. That's the goal, not perfection but durability. A structure that doesn't collapse under stress. A mindset that doesn't retreat when life pushes back. So on the days when you feel off, don't look for excuses. Look for actions. Small ones, simple ones. Get out of bed, wash your face, complete one task, return to your process. Remind yourself who you are through motion, not mood, because how you feel doesn't get to decide what kind of life you live. Your decisions do, your patterns do. Your willingness to keep going when it's hard, that's what defines you. Not the days when it was easy, but the days when you showed up anyway. Chapter 8. Review your habits weekly to adjust and grow. If you never stop to look back, you'll keep repeating the same cycles without understanding why progress feels out of reach. The fastest way to grow isn't through random effort, it's through deliberate reflection. A weekly review of your habits gives you something most people miss, the ability to see clearly. Without that clarity, you might think you're doing everything right while walking in circles. But when you pause, just once a week, and examine your choices with honesty, you start to notice the difference between movement and progress. Not every action gets you closer to where you want to be. Some actions simply keep you busy. A review helps you separate the two. Growth isn't about doing more, it's about doing better. But better requires awareness, and awareness is only built through reflection. A week may seem short, but it holds enough information to show you what's working and what's not. You just have to be willing to look. If you reflect weekly, patterns start to reveal themselves. You'll see which habits are consistent and which ones fall apart when things get hard. You'll spot moments where you wasted time, avoided responsibility, or acted out of comfort rather than discipline. You'll also discover your quiet wins, the small decisions that moved you forward without recognition. These moments matter. They're not always obvious in real time. That's why you review. People often avoid reflection because it feels uncomfortable. It forces them to face what they'd rather ignore, but discomfort is not the enemy. Avoidance is. When you avoid the truth, you build a version of your life based on assumption, and assumption is fragile. But when you confront the truth, even if it's not flattering, you gain power. The power to fix what's broken, to strengthen what's weak, to double down on what's effective. You give yourself permission to improve instead of just repeat. Your habits are either serving your vision or sabotaging it, and without review, you'll never know which. You might keep doing something simply because it feels familiar, but just because a routine is easy doesn't mean it's useful. Progress demands that you stop blindly following habits and start intentionally choosing them. If a habit isn't helping, adjust it. If it's hurting, replace it. If it's working, reinforce it. You don't need a perfect system, you need a flexible one that evolves with you, and evolution only happens when you take time to evaluate. This process isn't about judgment, it's about understanding. You're not trying to punish yourself for what went wrong, you're trying to learn from it, to observe it with curiosity instead of criticism. Ask simple questions. Where did I spend my time this week? What actions made me feel stronger? Which choices drained my focus or distracted me? Was I intentional or was I reacting to life? You're not looking for a dramatic story. You're looking for signals, clues that point toward better alignment. The most successful people aren't the ones with the most perfect habits. They're the ones who are willing to adjust quickly. They don't get stuck in loyalty to a broken process. They review, revise, and improve. Every week becomes a checkpoint, not a finish line, but a moment of course correction. You're not starting over, You're refining. That refinement is what turns average routines into powerful systems. A single week can expose weaknesses you didn't notice in the moment. Maybe you missed a workout. Maybe you slept in and skipped your morning focus time. Maybe your attention was scattered and you kept checking your phone during important tasks. These aren't failures, they're feedback. That feedback gives you the insight to make next week better. Without the review, you'd likely repeat the same behavior again, not because you want to fail, but because you didn't take the time to notice. It's easy to think you're making progress just because you're busy. But busyness isn't a reliable measure of effectiveness. You could fill your week with effort and still end up exactly where you started. A weekly review disrupts that cycle. It forces you to ask, did I actually move closer to my goal, or did I just stay in motion without direction? That kind of honesty cuts through illusion. It prevents you from mistaking effort for results. You don't need hours to do this. Even 15 minutes of focused review can unlock valuable insight. You're not writing a report, you're checking in with yourself. You're becoming your own coach, your own strategist, your own accountability partner. Over time, these weekly reviews become second nature. They become a habit within the system that helps you upgrade all your other habits. You'll start to anticipate the review during the week. That awareness changes how you act. You'll think twice before skipping a task, knowing you'll be revisiting that moment later. That anticipation sharpens your behavior. It adds a layer of mindfulness to your actions. It's not about perfection, it's about being awake. And awareness is what turns average days into productive ones. Even when your week went poorly, the review has value. Maybe your routine collapsed. Maybe you fell into distractions. Maybe nothing went the way you planned. That's exactly when the review becomes even more important. It helps you identify why. It gives you the information needed to prevent the same breakdown next time. And sometimes, that insight alone can transform your next 7 days. You may also discover that your goals need adjustment, that your current habits are misaligned with what you actually want. A weekly review helps you reconnect to your vision. It helps you ask whether your actions still reflect your priorities. Goals can drift without you noticing. The weekly review brings them back into focus. It reminds you why you started and whether you're still on the right path. Most people don't grow because they don't reflect. They keep doing the same thing and expecting better outcomes. But nothing changes without evaluation. You don't need more motivation, you need more clarity, and clarity comes from observation. If you want to build long-term discipline, learn to examine your own behavior, learn to pivot when needed, learn to study yourself without waiting for crisis. The weekly review is your personal audit. It's not about guilt, it's about guidance. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be honest. And honesty is what fuels sustainable growth. No system is flawless, but with weekly reflection, your system becomes responsive. It adjusts, it strengthens, it adapts, and that adaptability is the real key to long-term success. Make the review part of your routine. Choose a consistent time, create a simple space, keep a notepad or journal, and don't overthink it. Just reflect. Write down what went well, what didn't, and what you'll do differently next week. Do it even when you don't feel like it. Do it when you think you don't need it, because the habit of reflection is what separates blind repetition from conscious evolution, and evolution, not repetition, is how you grow.
Chapter 9. Surround yourself with people who push consistency. The people you spend time with shape your mindset, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Consistency is not born in isolation. It flourishes in an environment where discipline is valued and supported. When you surround yourself with individuals who embody steadfastness and perseverance, you absorb their energy and mindset. This doesn't happen magically or by mere chance. It requires intention. Choosing your company wisely is a deliberate act of self-care and strategy. Consistency is a subtle and challenging quality to cultivate. It asks for repeated effort day after day, often without immediate rewards. Without support, the weight of persistence can become overwhelming. The wrong circle can easily erode your resolve, filling your mind with excuses, doubts, or distractions. In contrast, the right group of people energizes your pursuit, making discipline feel not like a burden but a shared journey. Their presence holds you accountable, models the behavior you seek, and creates a culture where quitting isn't an option. Think about the difference between walking a path alone and walking with companions who are steady, reliable, and committed to growth. When you travel alone, the smallest obstacles can feel insurmountable. Motivation dips and distractions have more power to pull you off course. However, when you move alongside people who consistently show up for their own goals, their momentum becomes contagious. You find strength in their determination. Their habits become a silent challenge to maintain your own standards. This kind of influence isn't about competition but about collective elevation. People who push consistency bring more than just encouragement. They provide a mirror to your habits and progress. Their feedback, whether direct or implied, reveals blind spots you may miss. When you're surrounded by steady individuals, excuses feel less valid because the bar is clear and present. You can't hide behind fleeting motivation or temporary setbacks because your circle expects you to maintain discipline. This kind of environment demands honesty and resilience, qualities essential to lasting change. It's important to recognize the difference between a supportive network and one that simply praises effort without standards. True consistency demands that people around you hold you to your best self, even when it's uncomfortable. They don't enable avoidance or rationalize failure. Instead, they challenge you to push through resistance. This may mean tough conversations, honest questions, and reminders when you falter. While it can feel hard in the moment, this pressure is a form of respect. It shows they believe in your potential enough to refuse complacency. Creating or seeking out such relationships requires discernment. Not everyone who claims to want your success is equipped to support your consistency. Some people may offer sympathy rather than challenge, validation rather than growth. Others might bring distraction or doubt under the guise of companionship. Learning to recognize these dynamics sharpens your ability to curate a circle that truly serves your goals. Choose those who embody what you aspire to become, not just those who offer comfort or easy agreement. Shared goals strengthen this bond. When people around you have aligned values or ambitions, consistency becomes a collective effort. You hold space for each other's struggles and victories. Accountability turns into mutual respect, and collaboration fuels persistence. In these relationships, you're less likely to give up because you know your commitment affects more than just yourself. The simple act of showing up is amplified by the understanding that others rely on your consistency as much as you rely on theirs. Consistency thrives in environments where habits are visible and routines intersect. When you witness others maintaining their schedules, resisting temptation, and prioritizing discipline, it creates an unspoken standard. This visibility provides a roadmap for your own journey. It demystifies the process, turning abstract ideas about persistence into concrete examples you can follow. Observing these patterns offers reassurance during moments of doubt and motivates you to keep going. Digital connections can be a double-edged sword. Online communities dedicated to personal growth can offer inspiration and camaraderie. However, they can also become sources of distraction or comparison. Real-life interactions often provide deeper accountability and richer support. Body language, tone, and presence convey sincerity and commitment in ways that text or social media cannot. Strive to cultivate in-person relationships that challenge you to be consistent, while using online tools thoughtfully to supplement, not replace, that foundation.
The influence of your environment extends beyond just the people you spend time with. It includes the culture you immerse yourself in daily. Conversations, shared values, and collective discipline create a backdrop against which consistency can flourish. Seek spaces where dedication is respected, where effort is visible, and where setbacks are met with solutions rather than excuses. These environments naturally elevate your commitment and reduce the friction between intention and action. Sometimes, building this circle requires stepping away from toxic or stagnant relationships. That can be difficult, especially when emotional bonds are strong, but preserving consistency means protecting your energy. Negative influences can slowly drain your motivation or normalize inconsistency. Removing or limiting exposure to these influences is a form of self-respect. It clears the way for healthier dynamics that foster discipline and growth. Engaging with mentors or coaches who emphasize consistent effort can be especially powerful. These figures offer experience and wisdom that shortcut your learning curve. They provide accountability that transcends peer pressure, grounded in expertise and long-term perspective. A mentor's belief in your capacity for persistence often unlocks reserves of strength you didn't realize you had. Their guidance shapes not only your actions but your mindset about what consistency truly requires. Consistency isn't a solitary achievement, but a communal process. The invisible threads connecting your efforts to those around you are as important as the work itself. When people in your life model discipline, reinforce your habits, and challenge your excuses, they become catalysts for your success. This network sustains you through challenges and fuels your resolve during moments of doubt. Choosing this circle is one of the most practical and profound steps you can take to transform your ability to remain consistent. Becoming intentional about who influences your daily rhythm is an act of mastery. It shifts responsibility for your consistency from willpower alone to an ecosystem that supports and enhances it. This ecosystem includes friends, colleagues, mentors, and anyone who carries the spirit of persistence. Their presence, combined with your effort, forms a powerful foundation that no obstacle can easily shake. When you surround yourself with those who push consistency, you create momentum that carries you far beyond what you could achieve alone.
Chapter 10. Reward your effort, not just your final results. Effort is the heartbeat of progress, the steady pulse that carries us through the journey toward any meaningful goal. Yet, far too often, recognition and reward come only when the finish line is crossed. This approach overlooks the crucial value of honoring the process itself, the daily, often unseen work that builds the foundation for success. When rewards are tied exclusively to final results, motivation becomes fragile, vulnerable to the unpredictable nature of outcomes. Shifting focus to celebrate effort reshapes this dynamic, fueling resilience, sustaining momentum, and deepening the satisfaction of growth. The truth is, results can be influenced by factors beyond immediate control, circumstances, timing, or external variables. If reward depends solely on reaching a distant milestone, motivation can waver when progress stalls or obstacles appear. This creates a precarious cycle where perseverance weakens under pressure. On the other hand, rewarding consistent effort cultivates a mindset rooted in process rather than outcome. It turns each step forward into a meaningful achievement, a source of encouragement that reinforces discipline and commitment regardless of external circumstances. This mindset doesn't diminish the importance of results. Instead, it reframes success as a continuous journey rather than a fixed destination. Every act of effort, no matter how small, is an investment in that journey, worthy of acknowledgement. Recognizing effort affirms that progress is not always linear or immediate, but builds through persistence. It honors the courage to keep moving forward when the path is unclear or the finish line seems distant. Rewarding effort can take many forms, and it doesn't require grand gestures. Simple acts such as pausing to appreciate the work done, journaling your daily victories, or treating yourself to a moment of rest and reflection create a positive feedback loop. These moments signal to your brain that the work is valuable, reinforcing the habit of perseverance. Over time, this builds intrinsic motivation, where the drive to act comes from within, not just from external incentives. Creating a system to acknowledge effort makes consistency tangible and less abstract. Visual tools like progress charts, checklists, or habit trackers serve as daily reminders of the effort invested. Crossing off a completed task or seeing a growing streak of consistent days provides a small but powerful sense of accomplishment. This external validation complements internal satisfaction, anchoring the habit firmly in daily life. It's also essential to be mindful of how self-talk influences the perception of effort. Often, people discount their hard work, focusing only on what remains unfinished or imperfect. This mindset diminishes motivation and fosters frustration. Instead, adopting a compassionate, stoic attitude toward effort acknowledges the reality of setbacks while emphasizing the virtue of persistence. Remind yourself that effort itself is a form of mastery, a demonstration of control over choices and actions regardless of immediate outcomes. Recognizing effort reshapes the relationship with failure. When only final results matter, failure can feel devastating, causing discouragement and self-doubt. But when effort is valued, failure becomes a natural part of the learning process. Each attempt, even if unsuccessful, is proof of action and growth. This perspective transforms setbacks into opportunities for refinement rather than reasons to quit. It encourages resilience by reinforcing that effort, not perfection, is the true measure of progress.
In practical terms, rewarding effort means setting benchmarks that highlight consistent behavior instead of distant goals alone. Celebrate completing a workout, writing a page, making a healthy choice, or showing up for a difficult conversation. These moments, when honored, build a chain of positive reinforcement that strengthens long-term discipline. Over time, these small wins compound, creating a reservoir of confidence and motivation that carries through challenges. It's important to balance effort-based rewards so they support, rather than distract from, the overall mission. Rewards should enhance motivation without creating dependency on external validation. This requires self-awareness and honesty. For instance, a brief pause for gratitude or a healthy treat can encourage continuation, while excessive indulgence might undermine progress. Finding this balance ensures that rewards remain meaningful incentives that reinforce commitment rather than disrupt it. This approach also invites creativity in how effort is acknowledged. Beyond physical rewards, consider emotional and social affirmations. Sharing progress with a trusted friend, writing a note of encouragement to yourself, or simply taking time for mindful reflection. These practices deepen the connection to your work and remind you why the effort matters. They create an internal environment where consistency feels rewarding in itself. A culture of effort-based rewards fosters long-term sustainability. Habits rooted in external validation often fade once the incentive disappears. In contrast, when effort is its own reward, discipline becomes a self-sustaining force. This internalization of motivation is critical for enduring success. It shifts the focus from fleeting outcomes to the daily practice of mastery, turning consistency into a way of life rather than a temporary endeavor. Furthermore, celebrating effort nurtures patience. Results often take time to materialize, and impatience can sabotage progress. By honoring the effort invested, you cultivate a sense of presence and acceptance in the process. This patience aligns closely with Stoic wisdom, emphasizing control over actions rather than attachment to results. It encourages a steady pace and a calm mind, essential for long-term growth. This principle applies across all areas of life. Whether pursuing health, career, relationships, or personal development, rewarding effort strengthens resolve. It builds resilience against setbacks and diminishes the power of discouragement. When effort is consistently recognized, it plants seeds of confidence and pride that flourish into enduring motivation. Ultimately, rewarding effort is an act of respect for yourself and the journey you've chosen. It acknowledges the courage it takes to start, the discipline to persist, and the strength to keep going despite challenges. This recognition fuels a positive cycle where effort begets motivation, and motivation begets progress. It transforms discipline from a chore into a source of fulfillment. By embracing the practice of honoring effort, the path to success becomes clearer and more manageable. The focus shifts from distant, uncertain outcomes to the immediate, controllable actions within your power. This shift empowers you to move forward with steady determination, knowing that every effort counts and is worthy of reward. In this way, consistency grows naturally, sustained by a deep appreciation for the process itself.